January or February is the best time of year to start your chilli seeds if you've got the right equipment, especially a good grow light, because chillies will need plenty of light when they start growing. However, if you don't have a good grow light, you can still grow chillies from seeds, but you'd do better to start your seeds around March or April time. And that way, by the time your seedlings require higher light levels, you'll be able to grow them outdoors. Now this video is going to take you through some of the key things you need to know if you're going to grow chillies yourself, from starting the seeds through to harvesting them later in the year. I grow a range of different chillies each year, including some super hot ones, and the advice here will work for all chillies regardless of which type of chilli you're growing. If you're new to growing chillies, the first key piece of advice is to make sure you buy your seeds from somewhere reputable. Many chilli growers have bought seeds on eBay before and found that the variety that they're growing isn't what was advertised. And this can especially be the case if you're trying to buy super hot chillies. You may find that you've actually bought a milder variety, and in some cases you might find that you're growing a completely different plant, for instance a tomato. But if you search for chilli seeds online, you'll find many reputable retailers, such as the South Devon Chilli Farm, World of Chillies, Sea Spring Seeds, and UK Chilli Seeds, all of which I've used before in the past. And if you do want to start your seeds in January or February, then you can purchase a cheap grow light for around £20 or £30 on Amazon. And if you're growing super hot chilli seeds, then they'll need a warm place to germinate, such as a propagator or even an airing cupboard. If you're new to growing seeds, then I recommend using a self-watering seed tray. Of course, any small pots or seed trays will do absolutely fine. However, with the self-watering seed tray, you can ensure that your soil is going to stay damp but not overly soggy, which will be perfect for the seeds. The self-watering seed tray sits on top of the reservoir of water and uses a wick fabric to absorb that water so that the soil in the seed tray only takes up as much water as it needs. You need to place that wick to make sure that it's sitting into the reservoir of water, and then you can fill up your self-watering seed tray with water up to about halfway up the tray. Then all you need to do to keep your chilli seeds watered while they're in this tray is to just keep checking those water levels every week or two, just to make sure that there's still plenty of water in the bottom of your tray. It's best to use a good seed compost in your tray, although any compost will do the job. However, it will need to be firmed down in the seed tray to ensure good contact with that wick. And then I'll normally just add a little bit of extra water to the compost to make sure that it starts off damp as I'm sowing my seeds. If you're not using a self-watering seed tray to start your seeds, then another trick to help keep your seeds damp is to put your small pot of compost into a Ziploc bag and then seal that so that the moisture gets retained within the bag. So I have a few different varieties of seeds that I'm growing here, including some that I've bought from retailers and others that I've collected and grown from my own chillies that I've grown in previous years. And I've written out labels to make sure I know which one's which. As you can see, I'm growing quite a few different varieties, and some of them can look very similar but have very different heat levels, so it's a good idea to know which ones you're growing. Unless, of course, you enjoy playing Russian roulette with your heat levels. So I'm going to start sowing my seeds, and I'm just using the label here to help make a little hole in the soil. And I'm going to put 3 of each variety per cell. This should be enough to ensure that I get at least 1 of each variety germinating. And if you do get more than 1, then you can either thin them out later or transplant all 3 of them into different pots. Seeds will normally germinate in about 7 to 14 days. However, they do all germinate at different rates, and especially the super hot ones might take a little bit longer, so it's important to be patient. Chilli seeds don't need light to germinate, but they do need to be in a warm place, and I'm using the lid of the seed tray to make sure I keep that moisture in. 7 days later, you see the first chilli seeds starting to poke through. They'll start with just their seed leaves, and at this point you should avoid transplanting them because they're not strong enough yet. And also they don't need any fertiliser at this stage. When they get their first true leaves through, like these ones, then you can transplant them. However, in a self-watering seed tray, you're much better to wait and let those roots develop a little bit more. Once you've got plug plants like this, then you can start transferring them into pots. One of the most common problems that chilli growers have while their plants are indoors is aphids. They may look like little green blobs on your plant, or you may see the white exoskeleton that's been shed by the aphid. The leaf may also look a bit sticky with the sap that they've been eating. However, they're easily dealt with. Simply get some damp cloth and wipe each leaf and just wipe the aphids away. There are bug sprays available that you can use to kill the aphids. However, they're not so reliable because they can hide underneath the leaf as well. And if you've got a lot of aphids, then sometimes the best thing to do is just rub the leaf under running water. And once you've washed away all those aphids, then the plant will be absolutely fine. Chilli plants grow at different rates. However, on the whole, I find that I'm repotting my chilli plants about once every 2 weeks until they reach their final pot size, which would be a 10-litre pot. If you're repotting outside, then just make sure that your chillies are out of the full sun, as this will help to reduce transplant shock. So this chilli here is the Zimbabwe Black, and if I tip it upside down, you can see here that it has got quite a few roots showing on the outside. For me, that's good enough to pot up, so I'm going to be potting this up into the next size pot now. Now, for a lot of people, this wouldn't be enough roots to pot up yet. However, last year I found that when I waited a little bit longer, I didn't get such good results with my chillies. So as soon as I see these roots starting to form around the edge of the pot, that is the time when I decide to pot up. If your chilli plant starts flowering before you've put it into its final pot size, it's best to remove those flowers. This way your plant can focus on putting on extra growth and roots rather than producing chillies. Although you may be keen to let it fruit early, it's much better to let your plant get bushier first, because then it will eventually produce more fruit. Water your chillies in frequently, usually about once every week. Let the soil dry out before you water them again. And once they start to produce flowers, you should give them a feed once every 2 weeks. You can use a general tomato fertiliser, although I prefer to use seaweed feed. Now, the hotter you like your chillies, the later you'll want to leave it before you harvest them. Although you'll find a few chillies coming through a bit earlier, usually the typical harvest time will be around October. However, it's advisable to keep harvesting the chillies as they develop so that it encourages new chillies to grow. Some chillies may also be grown more for their flavour, in which case you might want to try a few and just pick the ideal time for harvesting the variety that you're growing. Most chilli growers grow their plants as annuals and start again from seed the following year. As the temperatures start to drop, the leaves will start to become more discoloured, and at this point the plant will be very hard to save. So if you are planning to overwinter them indoors, it's best to pick healthy plants. Even just showing these small brown dots, this plant isn't at its optimum health. For seeds to be viable, you need to wait until the chillies have turned bright red. Although not all varieties of chillies do go red, so it's a good idea to know what variety of chilli you're growing, so that you can harvest your seeds at the optimum time. Generally, seeds harvested too early may look slightly translucent in colour. Of course, it's a good idea to make sure that you're wearing gloves when you're handling chilli seeds, or no matter how well you wash your hands afterwards, your eyes will be stinging when you rub them. Use a paper towel to clean the chilli seeds and then leave them on a paper towel to dry for a couple of weeks, after which you can store them in a paper bag and make sure you keep them in a dry environment. If you're enjoying the content of Freya's Tropical Garden, then please help this channel grow by subscribing. Every new subscriber is appreciated. And by turning on notifications to my videos, you can also make sure that you don't miss any episodes in future. You can also follow me on social media, where I'll release links to my latest videos, as well as share my flower of the day. You can follow me on X, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, or join my Facebook group to engage in discussions and share your own photos. Freya's Tropical Garden webpage also has links to my videos and helpful advice. And now, in order to support the continued growth of this channel, there is an option of becoming a member, which will give you access to a private Facebook group where I'll be running monthly competitions exclusively for members, as well as additional exclusive content. And as always, I welcome your feedback in the comments below.